Hey, so just want to check in with you guys and make sure you're still standing after what we went through yesterday. You know, there's so much that goes through our nervous system sometimes that we're not even aware of. I mean, those of us who are sensitive, we're totally aware of it because we're aware of everything. Let me know in the comments if you were like yesterday, because there was so much stuff coming through. If you were like, can I just be a normal person? Could I just be one of those people who is like, oh, really? There's solar flares? What's a geostorm? Uh, I'm telling you, there are days when I wish that I could just completely shut it off, right? And just be like normal. I know there's probably no such thing as normal anymore because everybody's on this planet is quite unique in their own ways, but you guys know what I mean, right? Those of us who like feel everything so intensely. So there's just a couple things that I want to touch about with yesterday, because today's obviously different. For sure, let me know in the comments if you're noticing that shift today. Even last night, the dream state was way different. Sleep was actually good, even though the dreams were a little wonky. There was a lot of symbolism coming through in the dreams, which is always interesting because that will happen and come through when we're doing a lot of mind scrambling during the day. So meaning when there's a lot of like monkey mind during the day, a lot of like spiritual saying chatter during the day, it makes it really hard for them to kind of give us the nudges, the whispers that we do need to help us navigate. So then they'll communicate in the dream state, right? Now, even though yesterday was kind of like a big, it definitely shook our nervous systems. Let me know if you noticed, because once I like got out of my own way a bit, right? I started to notice that there was a lot of like messages coming through. And remember, messages don't always come through directly from spirit. Often spirit will use, the people around us, right? So maybe you're watching a video and all of a sudden you hear something and you're like, oh, okay, that applies to me. Or somebody in your family says something or does something and then you're like, oh, okay, that's good. I can use that. Pay attention to that stuff. It's like those subtle messages that are highlighted for you. That is like, this is going to help you right now. That's how we receive, what they call intuitive guidance, right? That's how it comes through. It comes through in the people, places, and things in our environment. So pay close attention to that, because I feel like there's going to be some of that. Spirit's just saying right now, there's going to be some lingering effects. They're just calling them aftershocks for today. So some of us still may feel the little bit of wobble, the in-between worlds, feeling ungrounded. You might have a viral flare, right? So if you've got any stuff physically going on in the body, it may be activated. Now, there's a couple of things as to why this happens that I want you guys to understand. So first, and I'm just going to touch it briefly because it could be a whole video on itself. We could have a whole conversation about it on itself. But there's definitely a dark agenda. I'm just going to call that to make it simple. There's definitely part of the dark agenda is that they manipulate things, right? They're manipulating energy. They're, messing with the weather. They're messing with the sun. They're messing with the moon. They're messing with stuff because they're trying to figure out ways to be able to control and manipulate and get more power through it. That's what they're doing. So we're a bit of an experiment, right? They go and do these things, and then some of us, and especially those who are energetically sensitive, we feel it. So yesterday was a prime example. It was just a KP5 index geostorm. So not a big deal. We've had lots of them. But it nearly took us out. Like, it was so severe. It was really, really, really strong. Now, is that because we were experiencing radiation poisoning? It really felt like that. The symptoms really felt like that. And it's interesting because I am able to validate that Not so great myself, right? Because yesterday, as soon as I started feeling all of the symptoms, right, I dropped right into 3D, right into, dense human. What the fuck is this? Why is this happening? Why am I feeling like that? When that fear vibration comes in, I lose all of my connections. Like, that's just the truth of it, right? It's like my magic spacesuit dissolves. So when I used my AO scanner, and go to my website and check this out if you haven't yet, but it's something that I use, technology I use with my clients. I use it for myself all of the time. But when I ran my scan and did the scans on myself, on my body, the radiation came up on that. And so, which made total sense because those are the things I was feeling. And then when I ran the balancing optimization frequencies to counter the effects of EMF, I felt way better. I felt way, way better. So it just goes to show you, and I'm thank God that we have technology that can counter the effects of, the dark and their technology. I'm so thankful for that. Like, so thankful that our guides have given us this, this tool, because they have so many tools that they're using against us. So that was one of the things that we were experiencing, was definitely a lot of radiation. So that's radiation poisoning, and ascension symptoms look very, very similar. They really, really do. Here's something else that's really important that you guys take note of, because what happens is it's this cycle, right? So what happens is, as soon as we start to have any sensations, that activates the fight or flight in our nervous system, right? Remember, that shows up for everybody in different ways. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily afraid or anxious. It can mean a lot of different things, right? Some people get very angry. Some people get very sad. It's just you not being fully optimized, not feeling great. When that happens and we drop in frequency and fear comes in, right? What happens? We start pumping the adrenaline in the body, the cortisol in the body starts, all the stress hormones. And what happens with that then is all of the pathogens, so the bugs in our body, which everybody has, the parasites, the bacteria, the viruses, they become activated. It just becomes a feeding frenzy, right? It's like if you've ever fed those fish in a pond, and so imagine you're like throwing all of this adrenaline, all this cortisol, and they lap it up. So that's why we end up having like a viral flare or an autoimmune flare, or, right, all of these things. Now, here's the big takeaway. This is the important part. This is what Spirit wants us to get. And it almost took me an entire day to get this yesterday, this message. That just goes to show you, when we drop, right? If we take one single thing out of that whole equation, which is fear, if we take the fear out of the equation, then things become so much easier. Instantly, we stop feeding the pathogens. Instantly, there's no more of that energy feeding them, right? Which then the pathogens start to calm down. Then we gain control over the body. Then we feel that the physical body feels better. Also, what happens though is we get that clarity, right? Our brain gets to settle down. It gets to go into like observer mode, which is best. Trust me, that's best. And then we can get our guidance. We can get the support. We get grounded. We get centered. All of that. Do you see? All of that happens when we just take fear out of the equation. That's a big deal, right? That's a big thing to remember. I know it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy task, but it's doable. It is doable. So just keep that in mind today as we're experiencing the aftershocks, as if all that stuff is still, if it's still happening for you right now. Just do yourself a favor and recognize that frequency of fear. Recognize it for what it is. It's just a frequency. It's not yours. It's not who you are. Just recognize it for what it is. And don't give it any power. Don't give it any time. Just let it go. Just let it go out of you. Let's try this. We'll do this together. Sending you guys huge, huge blessings.